I'm going to do a bunch of different videos, but it's basically on how to design your own cross-stitching pattern. And bear with me because I've never made a video like this before. So just bear with me. I'm going to go to the beginning, but you go to stitchfiddle.com. Most of the features of this website are free, and I can show you which ones aren't. And you can see all the different patterns that I've done recently. I mean, you can, I believe the free account you can have up to 15 at a time. I pay about $5 a month, and it shows all of the patterns that I have made on here. Basically, I've saved them all. So I think I have a lot, but most of them are just for fun. Anyways, I'm going to do a lot of different videos of the steps, but this is the one I'm currently working on. And I wanted to kind of go over how I do the brick for the brick look. So you go to edit chart. When you add colors, basically when you do create a pattern, you can select the thread type. This list of colors are all DMC thread, and the numbers are the DMC numbers next to them. So basically, this is the photo that I'm going off of, and I'm doing the best I can to match the colors on the brick to the house, but that's what I'm working on right now. That's the house that I'm doing. This is the list of colors that you can choose from. I've already selected mine on the left, and I like to have the symbols on. When you go to edit chart, you can go to colors and symbols, and you can change the symbols for each color. I like to have a symbol. I feel like it just makes it easier to see it when I'm doing it. But that is kind of what I'm doing right now. I actually did all of this. I did most of the house, and then I actually added this orange color. So I've been going in and I'm just adding it. There were some pretty, in my opinion, significant orange tones in the brick. If you look in the house, there is a lot of orangey, dark orange tones. So that's what I've been doing, adding that. So I'm just gonna finish, and for me, you could do it all at once. I feel like it's easier doing it section by section. I choose to outline it, and I didn't do white. I did kind of like an off-white. It's right here. So it's actually this color, 819, for the outlining. And I don't really know why. You could use regular white, which is the diamond right there. And in the color list, there's a couple different whites. There's 3865. I choose usually to use B5200. I just feel like the 3865 white has a little bit more of a off-white tone with the actual thread. That if you go to Michael's and look at the thread, whatever craft store you go to. So in Stitch Fiddle, when you're adding a new color, it's this little pen. That's the pencil, and you select the color and you put it in. When you want to add lines, you click on those little lines right there. And so I'm clicking on the color I want to use. I zoom in, and then I like to add all the boxes. I'm just basically outlining everything so that it looks like realistic brick. And I know it's not going to be perfect because, you know, it can't look exactly, but I feel like it adds a lot of detail when you're looking at the house. If I zoom out and you look at it, the part with the brick versus the part without, I just feel like it adds so much detail, and that's why I do the outlining. Because just doing the colors, if you look at just the colors, that area right there, it really makes a difference. While I'm mentioning it, this little tool right here, you can select an area and you can fill it with a color. You can select an area and you can clear it, so basically delete it. You can also mirror it, which I honestly never actually used that. So I'm just going to go in to the lines. I do these on Etsy all the time, so these are actually commissioned pieces. They're not for personal use. I did make a pattern of my personal house, of my own residence, but I can show you that later if you want to see it. Sometimes while I'm outlining, I can kind of see another color I want to add. But just remember to go back to the lines and get the right color for outlining. When I did the railing, I chose to outline everything just because it added the detail. In the instructions for her pattern, I will put whether or not I think it'd be a good idea to, you know, I'll tell her where the outline, the back stitching is and everything. But honestly, you know, it's personal preference. If she wants to add that, totally up to her. You know, it's her portrait. She's doing it, and you know, it's totally up to you. It's totally like how you can customize it. But I started making these last year, and I just kind of like, it's fun to draw the patterns, you know? And I feel like outlining can really help you add detail. I'll show you, I'm going to finish this section of brick, and then I'm going to show you one area that I did. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but if you click on a line, you can click on it and it'll erase, and then there is an undo button, just so you know. But yeah. Anyways, I'll finish this area up, and then I will actually going to change that color. There we go. Sometimes when you're outlining, you can, if you zoom in and just do one section at a time, it can really help. If you look at it, what you want to add. So, okay. If you zoom out, and you can really tell. Oh, also, I didn't mention this, but as you can tell, there's no grid lines right now. If you go to edit and you go to, you know what, go to save. I always like to save my work because you never know if your computer is going to freak out and freeze and do something weird. I like, when I'm doing outlining, I like to get rid of the grid, just because, in my opinion, it can make it kind of harder because there's all the black lines. I'm going to show you how you can get the grid back. So you just go to Edit, go to Chart Settings, Title Layout. You can add a name for this, so you can put whatever you want. You can, the numbers for the grid system. You can add notes for whatever. I like to hide the grid lines when I'm outlining. It makes it easier for me. That's my personal preference. You can do the default, and it'll break it down, in boxes of 10. Whenever I actually send out the pattern for someone, I do include it like this. You can also go to grid and do the default without the highlights. So it doesn't group it. It has the grid, as you can see, but it doesn't group it with the hard black line in groups of like 10 by 10, which I prefer to have in groups 10 by 10 because I know if I'm doing a big area, I'll know like how many that is. Whenever I stitch, I tend to kind of go 10 by 10. So, anyways, that's just what I like to do. Honestly, outlining is really important. If you look at this staircase, when I was doing the stairs, if you look at the picture right here, I wanted to give the illusion. I did a darker line on just in between the steps so that it would show, you zoom in, you can kind of see I would make it, I always outline in black, but like if I wanted to add a step down here, I do a diagonal line and then go across. And then I would have, if I was going to continue it, I'd add this color. If you look at it, it kind of adds, I'm not sure if I'll keep that, but, and then when I was doing, if you look at the picture, this area in black and gray kind of goes up at an angle. So I decided to, if you look on here, I did diagonal lines. You can do diagonal lines. It's in gray, but if you go to black, you can go in diagonal lines. I feel like it really adds so much detail. But you could even do like a full-on square. You could make a whole cube. Like that. It adds dimension. With stitching, this website that I'm using doesn't have a half stitch. So what I usually do, if I'm going to do a half stitch, you can either go like this and do a half stitch, and I'm not sure if the half stitch is part of the free program like that, or sometimes I will do it like this, and this does cost money for sure, but the 1/4 stitch, and I'll just kind of add it like this. If you see that, For example, if you go to the roof up here, I probably won't do it, but if you wanted to add detail for your pattern, I mean, you can, you know, um, you can try to add these lines just to kind of fill it in, make them look so that they look like, you know, they are half stitches. I usually don't, but if someone requests that, you know, you can do it. I know programs like Max Stitch, they will give you the option to do half stitches and it fills it in. I personally haven't chosen to purchase that program just because, I don't know, mostly because I've downloaded the trial version of it and it doesn't give as much as I'd like. It just doesn't do enough for me, you know. Where you see the number 12, that color, I'm mostly doing it for shading. As you can tell, this kind of goes diagonal and it's kind of to the side, and that's kind of why I did that. And you can see it right here on both sides of this pillar and right here, kind of throughout the whole house. I kind of do it when when it kind of goes in a little bit. I like to do a similar color but darker. Yeah. But that is my first video. Like I said, I'm going to do another one. Once I finish this order, I'll probably do another one to do that. One tip, if you're going to do white, if you're stitching with white, if you're going to do a pattern with something that has white, I always recommend turning on the symbols, you know, going to colors and symbols and making sure it's color, you know, because you can do colors only. You can do only colors, and then the symbols are gone. So that can look nice, and especially if you go to, I like to check it. I like to check my stuff, so I will do just colors, and I'll hide the grid lines, and then it kind of shows you what it looks like, you know? The grid lines are all gone, and it kind of shows you what things are going to look like when the stitching is all done. But I'm also going to be adding a tree here in the yard, maybe 2 trees. Well, a tree and a bush. So when I do that, I'll show you. As you can tell, you can't see any of the white. I did basic outlining for these pillars. If you look in here, there's some pillars. I chose to do just white. I'm also thinking about adding this in the image as well. Haven't got there yet, but I love how much detail the outlining and the brick does. It really can make it pop. If you're doing a lot of outlining, it can get kind of meticulous because it's mostly because it's time consuming. And, yeah. But if I didn't have these lines right here to show you that that's white, then you wouldn't even be able to see it when you're making the pattern, of course. Because if you're adding if you're adding white on your design, even with a grid, you wouldn't be able to see it. But then you go to colors and symbols, and you go back, then maybe I didn't do it right. But if you have the symbol on, you can actually see what you're adding. I feel like it really makes a difference. But if I have to delete a large area, I'll usually use the select tool. But yeah, it's fun. I feel like this is a really easy program to use. It's really simple. but it really can make a difference. I always like to save what I'm working on. I actually had an experience where I did a huge section and then my computer froze and I hadn't saved it. And I tried everything I could. I even did research, I like Googled it on my phone how to unfreeze a Mac, and I honestly couldn't get it fixed. So I had to start over. It really sucked. So always save it, even if you do a small section and you really like how it turns out. Always hit save. But these are some other ones that I've done. This is my most recent finished commission. I'll show it to you with the grid lines gone. And then I'll change the colors. So there's that. It was really time consuming just adding those lines because it was just like these huge sections. And just realized that there's a spot right there that's missing. It's really bothering me now. There we go. Okay. Let me see if I can show you the house photo. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. This is the house. I did the outlining on the house because, as you can tell, you know, anyways, that's what I did. There's that. I'm just going to show you some of them that I finished. This one was very big. I tried to, it's the bigger you make the pattern, the more details you can add, but that also makes it a bigger project. It'll take longer, and that's not always what you want. You don't want it to be huge, but it also can depend on the size, you know? I don't have a before and after for this one. I do, but I'm not sure where it is at the moment. I'm just showing you some stuff I've done. I'm not trying to sell anything, but if you do need help, I'm always happy to answer questions. And I'll help you. If you want me to do it for you, make the pattern for you, then I do charge I charge $45 right now. I wish I didn't have to charge so much, but it takes a long time. It's a lot of work. And when I am making a big house, like a house, I usually start with the garage. This one I did not. I started from left to right, and I started with the windows. But yeah, I did. When you have trees, that can really add a lot of detail, but it also can make it a lot bigger of a pattern. And just make it take longer to do. I usually, I think it looks better when you do the green in with French knots, but that obviously would take a really long time to do. But little things, like little details, I think outlining really makes a difference. And if you don't like using Etsy and you don't want to buy one, and you do want to buy one from me, you can always just message me on Facebook. I can do it that way too. But yeah, and I'm sorry if I sound so scatterbrained. I want to be as thorough as possible. I'll do another video once I have more. If you ask for more like specific questions, I can answer them specifically. But this is my first video. This one was a lot of work. Like, it took forever, but they wanted the trees to look exactly like what they looked like in the house. I wish. And then you look back. Sometimes you do these from months ago, and then you look at it, and there's a little tiny mistake that's just driving you crazy. But I like to save these just in case. You never know. Sometimes you can lose digital files when you buy something. I would hate for something to get lost. I usually leave these on here as long as possible. Since I pay for the website, I don't have to delete folders. I have added some stitch people in the pattern, but it's for people that have, that have already bought the book and they wanted it part of the photo. So I can do that too. I can add wording. Wording takes a while. Unfortunately, this website that I use, you can't copy and paste and move things around. I know on MacStitch you can put text and highlight it and then move it around the photo. Unfortunately, this website doesn't, so it takes time to get it centered, but it does look nice. Sorry if this is really long, I'm just kind of showing you. But yeah, this is actually my house. I did this one. I kind of did a smaller one. I did a small one. And then I also did a very big one. If you look at it, there's so much more detail in this one. Let me turn off the grid lines. This is a really good example of size because how much detail you can get in it. Okay, if you look at that, if you look at this one, you can see so much more. I was able to really get the panels on the door. I actually did do half stitches right here for the light. And you can't tell, but I did do brick lines. Haven't actually stitched it, and I didn't do the stairs, but if I wanted to do that, I'll just show you a little bit how to do it. But you can. It's bothering me now, but it's just one way to do it. I don't know if this is just becoming boring and you're not watching the video anymore, but yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of how I do stairs when I'm doing them. And if I were really doing this, I would kind of add, well, I'd fix this and I would, clean it up. It's not going to be perfect because, you know, it's a little bit messy, but the outlining really shows you how to do it. And this color is 168. And if you go to 168 in here, there's 169, that's a little darker, but they're right next, it's like the next, it's literally the next color. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that one and then just do these. But I like to add a darker color underneath just for definition. I think it really makes a difference, and I'm wondering if I should add it right here. Yeah, I think I'll add that. But if you look at it now from a distance, you can really tell that they're stairs. Okay. Going back to what I was saying before, but the size. This is a lot bigger. You can get a lot more details. If I go to the other one, it's right here. There's way less details. It's way smaller, but it would not take as long to cross stitch. It would be a quicker project. So that's what you really have to decide ultimately. If you want it to be really quick and fast, then do something smaller. If the most important thing to you is having as much detail as possible, make it bigger. I was going to show you one more thing. Let's say you're working on the pattern and you're going to run out of room and you need to add more space. Obviously you can't tell right now, like you don't need that, I don't need that right now, but you can go to right here and you can add so you can add one column to the left, one column to the right, one column up, one column down, or you can add multiple. So I usually do multiple, and then I usually just do 10, and you can do left or right. I'm going to do it to the left, and then it adds it onto the pattern. So if you're running out of room on the pattern you're making, it's not a big deal. It's really easy. It's extremely easy to fix. So anyways, that's my first video. If you have any questions, specific stuff, let me know. I'm going to do another video when I first start my next order, but I was getting close to finishing the other one, so I wanted to kind of show you. But that's kind of how it goes, and I do like how this program, it keeps it the most recent ones you've opened, so it makes it hard to lose stuff. But yeah, it's really fun. The one thing I would say is have patience, because sometimes it can be extremely time consuming and it kind of exhausting. And there's times where this takes hours and hours, just getting all the details right. And just have patience. If you're working on something and you don't want to stop, but you're kind of feeling fried, I suggest just taking a break and picking it up on another day. I've done that many times. So, and if you have any questions, just message me on Facebook, or you can email me, and yeah, just let me know. Actually, my email is right here on the screen, lauraeastber@gmail.com. So my email is right here. So if you want to email me, that's fine. I've gotten many orders for patterns through email, or you can go to my Etsy shop. Now let's go to it so you can see it. But my Etsy is The Love of Stitch, and this is the listing. This is actually one that a customer, I made the pattern and she stitched it, and I loved being able to see it finished. I liked how I wasn't, she didn't ask for the trees and stuff. which I can usually add, but I think the details she added really made it look beautiful. Yeah, but reach out to me if you have questions. I'm always happy to help. I'm always happy to help. This one is a little more three-dimensional, but that's always, personal preference if that's something you want to do. Yeah, thank you so much for watching.